Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about business that almost everyone understands emotionally, but very few people understand structurally buying a used car. On the surface, this seems like just a simple comparison. One option is the traditional used car lot, another is a digital first model like Carvana. Another is the broader online marketplace or private sales. But beneath that surface is a much deeper question. This is not just about where the car is sold, it's about how different sellers make an uncertain, expensive, necessary purchase feel safe enough to complete. Most people compare these models in very simple terms. They think the used car lot is very stressful. The online model is easier, and the digital platform removes the old dealership games. The promise sounds straightforward: less haggling, more convenience, fewer uncomfortable interactions, and a smoother process from search to delivery. That is the visible story. But the deeper reality is that all these sellers still have to solve the same business problem: how to move used inventory, capture financing, manage trade ins, and make uncertainty feel acceptable to the buyer. What is really going on is not just used car retail, it is friction management. The traditional lot tries to reduce uncertainty through the physical presence, test drives, and in person reassurance. Digital models try to reduce uncertainty through interface design, policy, branding, return windows, and convenience. The underlying vehicle may be similar, but the hidden business changes depend on how the seller controls pressure, trust, and buyer hesitation. So the visible product is the vehicle. The hidden business is the system that makes the vehicle feel buyable. The used car lot is physical, visible, local, and right down the street, and immediate. A buyer can walk to the lot, inspect the vehicles, and drive away with something that feels tangible. That is the real advantage. But the lot model also carries the old pressure structure, negotiation, suspicion, trade in leverage, and the feeling that every conversation may be steered toward financing. So the lot dealer sells presence and immediacy, but often mixes trust with pressure in that same environment. Used car selling will always be partly a trust transaction. A buyer is not only judging the vehicle, they are judging the seller. Is this person honest? Is the condition being represented fairly? Is this a good price? Is there something I am missing? Traditional dealers try to answer those fears through in person explanation, guided inspection, and physical reassurance. That can help close the gap between uncertainty and action. But it also means the human relationship becomes part of the sales mechanism. Carvana-style platforms remove much of the lot experience and replace it with digital branding, and a browsing system, simplified pricing, trade in tools, finance options, and delivery to the buyer. That feels cleaner, easier, and more modern. But the hidden business is still very familiar: inventory spread, trading capture, financing attachment, logistics, and trust design. The showroom disappears, but the financing and inventory logic do not disappear with it. The difference is that pressure becomes softer, subtle, and more digital. It is important to know why this used cars work so well. For many people, a used car is not just a casual purchase. It is tied to work, school, family appointments, childcare, and just the daily living of everyday life. That means the vehicle is not just an object, it is an access to stability. And once that purchase is framed that way, convenience and reassurance become even more powerful. Buyers are not only looking for a car, They're looking for a way to solve a transportation problem quickly enough and safely enough to move on with life. One of the deepest truths in used car buying is condition uncertainty is always going to be there. Mileage, maintenance, accident history, wear, hidden problems, reconditioning quality. All that lives in the background of the purchase. The seller who wins is often the one who makes that uncertainty feel most manageable. On a lot, that might mean inspection and explanation. Online, that might mean photos, reports, guarantees, return policies. But the business goal is the same: reduce hesitation enough that the buyer moves forward without giving away too much margin on it. There is something subtle but very important. Once the buyer feels that the process is easy, the transaction begins to feel emotionally safe. That is a major part of the business model. In old dealership language, the close may come through pressure, negotiation, fatigue, or the monthly payment conversation. In digital first language, the close may come through simplicity, confidence, and low friction design. But in both cases, the sale happens when the buyer stops feeling stuck and start feeling comfortable enough to commit. The final takeaway is that used cars dealers, Carvana-style platforms, and online car buying systems all sell more than just vehicles. They sell different methods of making a risky used car purchase feel acceptable. That is what makes this such a strong hidden business model. The visible product is the vehicle. The hidden business is how the seller controls friction, captures financing, sources trade ins, and builds enough trust to move uncertain inventory before time and doubt will the margin. So, the real disruption may not be the technology alone. It may just be a new way of packaging the same old business of margin, trust, and obligation. Used car buying will always be partly a trust transaction. Thank you.